Hello there, hello there, hello there. YouTubes and the Twitches. How the fuckity fuck are we? I'm going to be getting angry in this one, but I'm okay for now. So, How are we all? How are we all? I thank you for asking, by the way. Yes. It's 7 p.m. here in the UK, and it's 3 p.m. on the east coast of Americana land because of daylight savings time, which means it's 7 a.m. in Fiji again because of daylight savings time. Hello to the people of Fiji. You join me for what was an unplanned one. I wasn't going to do one today, but I needed to get some shit off my chest, and I didn't want to do this on a regular weekday as such. I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow, but I've got lots of material to cover, so I thought I'd do a Britain one, okay, a Britain centric one, because people may or may not know that I am from a rain-soaked island, a collection of rocks in the North Atlantic called Britain. Technically, the nation is called United Kingdom. Let's not go into it. It doesn't really matter. And life here, whilst certainly not being as bad as, say, countries in the third world or anything, like I have an extraordinary lifestyle compared to the vast majority of humans who have ever existed. So I want people to bear that all in mind as I take you through this. I'm not saying it's the worst country that has ever existed. In terms of the lottery of life, being born here is better than being born most places. And I don't mean that in any kind of moral sense. I mean just the quality of life, okay? So, anyone who wants to sputter your shit in the comments about, well, why don't you fuck off to North Korea or whatever, feel free to. It helps with the algorithm. I don't give a fuck. But I will ignore you because you're an idiot. You are profoundly stupid. So I'm no interest in engaging with that nonsense. So, I am, like I say, from Britain. And as I think probably is the case with most nations in the era of the nation state, you're asked to be patriotic towards the place that you're from, right? Often very right-wing, jingoistic, flag humpers, if you will, people who have a kind of flag fetish, a flag penetration fetish, will often ask you, nay, demand of you patriotism, simply because you happen to be born on this piece of land as opposed to some other piece of land. And I've always felt it difficult to engage in that when it comes to Britain. Growing up reasonably poor, by British standards. That's why, I'm not suggesting that, some fucking poor, starving African kid needs to feel sorry for me or anything like that. Growing up reasonably poor and seeing that there were rich people and being aware of that makes you think, well, that's not fair. My parents worked really fucking hard and got virtually nowhere for it. Bless them dearly, but they're not rich people or anything. Whereas the Queen does fuck all and lives in a palace. It's, and the Queen isn't even the worst of them, of course, but, the general point stands. So it's always been an issue for me. And so often it draws into clear focus for me around the time of football. Now, people will know that I like my football, but there's a specific cultural practice which takes place during the international competition, so the World Cup or the European Championships. When England are playing, it's often the poorest people in the country, often those for whom the country has given them so little, who show their patriotism and show their pride by wearing the flag or flying the flag and all the rest of it. Where I'm from, there are lots of high-rise towers, and frankly, the people who've been shit on most by the country get flung into these places. And those are the lucky ones compared to the homeless. We'll get onto that shortly, I'm sure as well. Homelessness has spiked enormously. Yay. Britain is a difficult place to love. Anyway, so often those high-rise towers, you'll see the poorest people in the country showing the most amount of love and pride towards that country and their representatives on the world stage. And yet you get scoffing derision from posh, rich cunts. And I make no apologies for using that word. If Americans don't like that word, I'm sorry. Have a bit of cultural sensitivity, yeah? posh, rich cunts looking down their nose, sneering at these people. Now, I disagree with the flag-waving jingoisticness of it, but I don't think they're lesser people for it. I don't view myself as above them, because I don't view myself as above people. And it's that kind of, the disparity between those groups, which forces me into a situation where I cannot be patriotic about this place. And this has drawn into even sharper and sharper focus over the last decade of Tory government. Tory, by the way, is a Conservative in Britain. Over the last decade, the government have introduced levels of evil and cruelty into the system, which I didn't even think they'd go for. I didn't even think they'd push it as far as they have. But they really fucking have. The levels of capriciousness swilling around the country at the moment, in the wake of things like Brexit and the fact that Boris Johnson got a majority in the election in December, makes me go from being beyond not patriotic to a genuine, bordering on hatred for the place. It's disdain, it's contempt, it's looking around, and Birmingham, the place I'm from, is not necessarily the worst in this at all. In fact, it's one of the better places. But you look about the people around you and you think, you want this to be this way. You want this place to be this fucking evil. I can't feel compatriotism towards these people. I can't feel anything but disgust towards these fucking people. It's disgraceful. And we're going to get on to a rather long list of recent developments which have led me to this place. Where, obviously, jokingly, I referred to this as the stream as Britannia, Delenda Est, on the old Roman thing of Carthago, Delenda West, which basically just means Britannia is the Roman name for Britain, must be destroyed. Now, I'm not literally saying the country should be, levelled or anything. I'm not calling for violence, and that would be a terms of service violation. As you know, I am scrupulously not going to break terms of service, because I am a good boy. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to be taking you through a list of things, and I'm going to be getting angry. And I make no apologies for that. This is me cleansing getting shit off my chest here, okay? This is catharsis. This is therapy for me. I've talked a lot recently about America and American politics, not because I necessarily view it as more important or interesting, but because, well, A, there's an election going on, so it's more kind of current, but B, as a way of avoiding talking about Britain, because it's really close to home. Obviously, it is my home, and it hurts. It hurts so much that I don't want to say or do something which is, I might end up regretting. So I'm going to be getting angry, but hopefully not too angry. Although, again, I can't promise anything. And I'm going to try and keep the list that I'm going to go through here, and I've got a lot of links and stuff. I'm going to try and keep it in some sort of logical order, but as Britain is in such a fucking huge mess right now, accordingly, my list of grievances will be pretty fucking disorderly for the most part as well, okay? But I'm going to try and keep it in some kind of vaguely sensible order, but we'll see. Anyway, but before we get to that, just briefly, are we in the chat? Can everyone hear me? Is this all going through? Is it smooth? Is it jarring? Is it what do you call it, buffering or anything? Can we get a bit of feedback from the chat? Because I won't be looking at the chat too much during my talky talks. Smooth. Good. Why am I speaking Belgian? I'm not speaking Belgian. Everything's good. Okay, awesome. Good. Thank you for that. Now then, let us get on to hang on. Oop. The stories at hand. Right. The first story I'm going to talk about is the free school meals issue. Now, the free school meal issue throws up a number of reasons to despise this country in so many ways, but it does bring up at least one issue in which it shows you we've got some semblance of humanity about us, but I'm stretching it thin there, I think. There we go, tab. Right. This story centres around a young man, a 22-year-old professional athlete called Marcus Rashford. He plays football, soccer for the Americans, for Manchester United and England. And he grew up very poor, even poorer, I think, than I. Kind of loud. Oh, yeah, we'll turn the volume down then, John. Jesus. Anyway, Marcus Rashford. Don't look at the chat, Kev. Don't look at the fucking chat. Marcus Rashford plays football for Manchester United in England. Again, soccer for the Americans / Canadians / Indians. There are lots of people who call it soccer. Australians. Anyway, yeah, grew up very, very poor, to the point where he was food insecure during his formative years, and obviously hasn't forgotten that experience, and has now gone on to become a person who's given a lot of their own money and time to providing meals for poor families. Now, the fact that we are relying on a 22-year-old athlete to do the job that any reasonable, caring, vaguely compassionate government should be doing is disgusting. Fair play to Marcus Rashford. I love the guy. He's done amazing work, genuinely phenomenal work. For a 22-year-old to have had the political impact he has as a fucking sportsman is to his eternal credit and to his mother's eternal credit. She raised a very, very fine young man. But the point is, it shouldn't be on the shoulders of a 22-year-old professional fucking athlete. The government should not be having a situation where we are the 6th largest economy on the earth. We raise billions of pounds every fucking year to go to, military campaigns here, there and everywhere to piss up the wall on fucking ridiculous pieces of corruption, frankly. They call it infrastructure, but nothing's getting fucking built. It's all going into the pockets of millionaires and billionaires on fucking Brexit nonsense, all kinds of shit. And yet we've got children going hungry. We've got children in the country I fucking live in right now going hungry. And you asked me to be patriotic about this place. You asked me to love this place. I'm surprised more people aren't. Terms of service, there's no way I can complete that sentence. YouTube will shut me down in a fucking heartbeat. Anyway, we shouldn't be relying on 22-year-old professional athletes to have to feed our fucking impoverished children. What kind of Dickensian bullshit is this? We've gone back 150 fucking years. We've now got an underclass of starving people. Food bank usage is through the fucking roof. Anyway, it then gets inherently more political because one of the ways that many of these very poor families have managed to get some nutrition into their children is via school meals. Now, the government have, for a very long time, I was a recipient of free school meals back when I was a kid. If you're below a certain threshold of income, your kid is entitled to free school meals, which means you get a free lunch, a free meal at school. It doesn't cost a huge amount of money and is a very good way of A, getting nutrition into kids, and B, good food into kids. They don't do that. They do it the cheapest way possible because Tories are cunts. But we could, in theory, tackle some of the obesity problems by making sure that the one meal a day that we do actually have control over that for that kid's life is a healthy meal. They don't do it that way. They just do it as cheap as possible because, again, Tories are cunts. Anyway, free school meals. Really important thing. Actually a backbone, a staple nutritional backbone for millions of kids. This country is disgusting. Anyway, there was a call by Marcus Rashford and others to... and Marcus Rashford, like I say, is a footballer, but has become a genuinely influential political figure, which is fucking mad. The abrogation of duty by the opposition on this matter as well is pretty disgusting. That's the thing. Jeremy Corbyn, we could have had a good Prime Minister there. Now we've just got a Blairite cunt in charge of the Labour Party. Yay. Anyway, So the effective opposition to Her Majesty's government is being provided by a 22-year-old. Good. So, there was a call to extend the free school meals outside of term time because they're about to go on Christmas holiday, which means that obviously they're not at school. And if there's local lockdowns, again, some of the schools will close. That nutritional element of actually having at least one solid meal a day, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about borderline third world fucking conditions for some of these poor bastards. That's going to be taken away from them. So there was a call to extend that programme over the break, so that at least we can guarantee they are getting some food. Which, imagine that, what it is, it's so Dickensian. We've gone back 150 fucking years. I genuinely, if you're a Tory voter out there, I hope you're fucking proud of yourself, you piece of shit. Anyway. So, there was a call for that. They went to vote in Parliament, and 321 Conservative MPs voted to not feed children. To not feed children. To allow children to go hungry. Now, Conservatives, being the slippery, dishonest pricks that they are, have said that they intend to get to the root cause of the issue. Now, that would be great, because the free school meals programme is a stopgap. It's a very, very insufficient response to the food crisis that millions of people face. But the Conservative Party aren't going to get to the bottom of the problem, because the Conservative Party is the problem. The Conservative Party's cruelty is not a byproduct of its selfishness, it's the core of its selfishness. The Conservative Party need an underclass of people prepared to work for slave wages. To keep people desperate and hungry and grasping so that they stay in line. And that is precisely what they're doing. This is not a bug in the system, this is a feature of Conservative economics. If you're poor, they want you fucking hungry. A hard day's work for a hard day's pay, none of it. You work your fucking fingers to the bone and you get nothing. A lifetime of perpetual drudgery. Yay capitalism. Isn't freedom fucking awesome? And so there's mounting pressure on the government to reverse its decision. This government being as flip-floppy as possible, and there's Marcus Rashford, by the way, in case you didn't know what he looked like. For them to reverse their decision, and they flip-flop and U-turn all the time, and especially because they've had a letter from 2,000 doctors and paediatricians and stuff saying, this is really unbelievably fucked up. Maybe you should feed children. Like, I can't even believe this is a thing that needs to be debated. They're children, even if their parents are lazy, work-shy, skiving pieces of shit, as the Tories undoubtedly would privately describe them, and often publicly will describe them. What the fuck have the children done? The children have made zero life decisions. The children are not remotely fucking responsible for the situation they find themselves in. Conservatives hate poor people. I hope eventually someone fucking realises this. It's disgusting what is taking place here. Disgusting. We are borderline third world in some places. And we're one of the richest countries that has ever existed. You asked me to be fucking patriotic? Suck all of my fucking anus. And it's even worse because MPs, and again, lots of MPs didn't vote for that. They voted to extend the thing, right? But the 321 Tory MPs who didn't, who voted in favour of this, and I think it was one DUP or something, are a fucking disgrace. They are scum. I'll take you back to the soup thing, which is why I put that there. That's a word that will come back up in just a second. But I think it's worth bearing in mind that the same MPs who voted against this, allowing the poorest in our society to eat, get £85,000 a year in wages. That's a lot. That's what, 110,000-ish US dollars a year? That's a pretty handsome wage. And I'm not saying a good MP is worth their weight in gold, but the point is, they're not fucking starving. They're not starving. Let them work on fucking minimum wage and tell me how good it is. They get about £5,000 every year in allowances for food and drink. Even though the bars and restaurants in the House of Commons are heavily subsidised. So essentially, we pay them twice to eat cheaply. So again, besides the £85,000 a year wages, they also have incredibly good, nutritious food subsidised twice by me. And then you get the waste of money all around the place. I think the most notable example for me, as someone who cares about removing nuclear weapons from the world, is the replacement of the Trident nuclear system. For those who don't know, the Trident nuclear system is Britain's system of nuclear weapons. We've got nuclear submarines in Scotland, for instance, right? And every now and then they become obsolete, so you have to upgrade them. That's one of the problems, of course. And the replacement for that is, and we've already spent quite a lot of this money, but the overall cost is estimated to be between 150 to 200 billion pounds. 150 to 200 billion pounds for a country which we kept being told whenever there's some issue with unemployment benefits or free school meals or money for hospitals or money for fucking schools or anything like that, we're broke. There's no money. We haven't got any money for this. 150 to 200 billion for fucking weapons that we plan never to use. That money can be found. Fucking trillion quid for banks to be bailed out. That can be found. Do you know how much the free school meals extension would have cost the government? £126 million. Not billion, million. Less than 1/100th of the cost of the Trident nuclear system. Now, I put it to you, dear viewer, and I don't for a second accept the argument that nuclear weapons are there to protect us. They're not, it's a joke. But let's just go with that. They say they're there to protect us. What exactly are they protecting? What the fuck are these nuclear weapons protecting? Because if we're a nation that's happy to see fucking poor kids starve, what kind of nation? That nation isn't worth protecting. What the fuck are we protecting with this? A nation with starving children is not worth defending because it's given up any kind of reasonable worth. It's fucking disgusting. It's not a nation worth protecting. Not that nuclear weapons do that, but that's the argument that gets made, right? And it's despicable. I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. The brazen nature of it is... And it's cruelty. It's just outright fucking cruelty at this point. And it gets even better. Because rather than just not feed their kids, Tory MPs have taken to social media to shit on the parents of these kids as well by saying, making the claim, specifically here Ben Bradley and Mark Jenkinson, making the claim that the free school meals vouchers were being exchanged for drugs. Food parcels being exchanged for drugs. Neither one of them, when asked by members of the media, could provide any evidence for this, but they both made the claim that it was true. I hope they're both sued by family members who, parents of kids who do this, because they've accused them of a rather illegal action here, with no evidence. So, not only are we not going to feed your kids, we're going to slander you as a fucking criminal too. The Conservative Party are scum. That's it. And if you still support them, so are you. Anyway, that then brings us on to whinging. Whinging Tory scum. The Conservative Party here, and a list of 100 members of Conservative Parliamentary Party backbenchers have written to Keir Starmer, the Blairite gobshite in charge of the Labour Party now, to whinge and moan because Angela Rayner, a member of Parliament who represents a Labour Party member of Parliament who represents the seat of Ashton-under-Lyne. Anyway, she, in an exchange in the House of Parliament, referred to some Tories as scum, which I'd like to see them try and sue under the Trade Descriptions Act, because that seems like an accurate description to me. They are scum. That's precisely what they are. Anyway, they've decided to whinge their little arses off, as they do. Quote, "Dear Sir Keir," that rhymes, "behaviour of the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. We are writing regarding the exchange in the Commons Chamber," that's the House of Commons, the elected chamber of the British Parliament, "on the afternoon of Wednesday the 21st of October 2020 between Chris Clarkson and Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, and the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, which is Angela Rayner. As I am sure you are aware, the Honourable Member for Ashton-under-Lyne used the phrase scum towards Chris during a debate on financial support for regions facing local lockdowns." So that's not even strictly speaking about the food stamp stuff, but I think it's very apropos. "The unacceptable comment made unacceptable comment made by your deputy resulted in widespread abuse towards members of our parliamentary party." Oh, did it? What about when you were referring to illegal immigrants and stuff, and referring to skivers and strivers, and then lots of poor people had their windows bricked in? Do you remember that? Do you remember that when David Cameron said that, and that happened to poor people? Do you remember that? Her language saw the phrase, quote, "Tory scum," end quote, trending on Twitter. Abusive phone calls and offices being targeted. This was not only affected MPs, but also their hard-working staff and supportive families, the vast majority of whom are not public figures. I'm sure that you agree that whilst targeting MPs in this way is clearly unacceptable, it is even worse that their relatives and staff members, many of whom are young and beginning their careers, should find themselves becoming targets. See, we should care about young people, but only if they're related to rich people. Young people who are like poor, fuck them. Young people who are related to these rich Tory cunts, we should care about those. Those young people matter. Sadly, this is not the first occasion in which the Honourable Member for Ashton-under-Lyne has used such language to describe Conservatives, nor the first time she has behaved with the standards expected of a member. I think that's supposed to be she hasn't. Wow, this fucking top-level private education's really good for them, isn't it? The standards expected of a Member of Parliament. Furthermore, it regretfully appears that some of this abuse following this comment is coming from members of your own party. When you became leader, you stated you would put aside the divisive and combative politics that cause such bitter division in our nation, engaging constructively, not scoring party political points. We do not believe that this language, Labour's recent actions in the House, or the stream of abuse that this incident has resulted in delivers on this promise. We respectfully ask you to take action, reaffirming your commitment to working constructively, asking Labour MPs and party members to act appropriately at all times, taking action against those who perpetuate this unacceptable abuse online and offline, and publicly apologise for Angela Rayner's record of unparliamentary behaviour. And then a list of 100 cunts who voted to starve poor kids. That's good, isn't it? Well, actually, more than 112, apparently. Guys, it's... with a heavy heart, I have to agree. It comes to something when you can't just starve some children without someone giving you some verbals. It's, it's political correctness gone mad. Something, aren't we the victims? Boo-hoo. See what I did there? I was pretending for a second there to agree with them. No, these people are scum. They are scum. That's an accurate description. I support Angela Rayner in her use of that language. Guys, if you're going to rail against political correctness, you can't then expect political correctness in return. That's not how that works. You motherfuckers have consistently broken parliamentary rules, left, right and centre. Suck my dick. And yeah, why can't we just starve children without anyone giving us anything back at all? We just want to starve some poor kids. And then you said a mean word to us, and now we're the victims. Fuck off, man. Oh, come on. This is the state we're in. You want me to be fucking... You want me to be okay with this? Fuck off. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, they are scum. There we go. I'm just going to put that image back up there. That's my response to it. Not literally, I didn't spray paint that. Because obviously, terms of service. And literally, I didn't do it, but... yeah, that's my riposte, if you will. Right. So, yeah, I don't give two fucks about them at all. Now, I will put it to you. What is worse, dear viewer? Being called a rude name, or giving your rich friends access to the country unquarantined, and allowing them to infect and kill British citizens? Which one would you say was worse than that? Any ideas? Because I will put it to you that this little story is significantly worse. This is from the Conservative Party, again, the Conservative government, who have made a monumental fuck-up of the entire COVID-19 response, to the point where we have 60,000 plus deaths in Britain, and it's spiking beyond belief again. And the government are blaming the people for not following the rules, when the government were literally having the eat out to help out, yes, laugh it off people, scheme, encouraging people to go to restaurants, where they got COVID, and now it's a massive spike. You've still got kids in schools. Massive spikes. What a surprise! They've implemented a 3-tier system, more of which in a second. And then this, where one of the most, I would argue the most corrupt government in history, always looking after the rich at the expense of the poor, as previously described. This is coming out now from the background of the government, where they're going to allow their rich friends into the country to just infect people without quarantine. The guidelines would apply to senior bankers, hedge fund managers and executives involved in high-value deals. High value meaning high value to rich people, not to the country, don't be silly. At present, only a handful of jobs, including sewage workers, the armed forces, hauliers and people who commute work weekly overseas, are exempt. Quote, "It seems ridiculous that people who are coming to the UK for 5 or 6 meetings in a day and then flying out are forced to quarantine, especially most of them come in private jets and chauffeur-driven cars," a government source said. Exactly, and we know that private jets and chauffeur-driven cars cure COVID. The fact that they might bring COVID in is irrelevant because they've got private jets. And private jets are the ultimate cure for any illness, we know this. Quote, "The changes will need to be easy to implement and police because what we don't want is for people to come to London for 1 day of meetings and then head off for 5 days sightseeing." Aww. So that's literally a thing they're going to do, or planning to do, looking towards doing. Whenever this gets leaked, this is always their way of testing the waters. If people react too strongly, they might not do it, or they'll water it down. But that's their plan. They want to make sure that rich kids, rich men, rich old fucks, can come in, infect everyone, and then just leave. No quarantine, no safety, fuck it. They're rich. Why should we impede their life at all? Don't be silly. Jesus. Look, if they want to come in and piss on the corpses of all of the dead, starving children, they should be allowed to, because they're going there and back to the piles of corpses of dead poor kids in a chauffeur-driven car. So that's really safe for everybody. Ask me to be patriotic. I fucking dare you. And it gets... it just gets surreal from here on in. This is a member of the British government, Nadine Dorries, an extremist and anti-abortion person who is a Minister of State for Health. Not the top person in the Health Department, not the Secretary of State, she's a minister. And she says, this is socialism. Now, you then have to go back to fucking links, because that's Zach Goldsmith, also a corrupt piece of shit who ran a very racist campaign against Sadiq Khan for the Mayor of London, you may remember. Anyway, this is it. Alright? They're in Wales. They're actually going to try a proper lockdown to try and get hold of the problem, because they've got a government who actually cares about not having their citizens die. The non-essential items are not being sold, so you can go and get food and things, and apparently that's what socialism is. Somehow. Now, couple of problems. Firstly, that's not socialism. That's got nothing to do with socialism at all. Like, literally, I put out the silly thing about socialism is not selling greeting cards. And the more not selling greeting cards you do, the more socialisms it is. This person's a member of the British government, and she doesn't... This is socialism. You're a fucking idiot, Nadine Dorries. And you're even more idiotic, because you know the reason that they're not selling those cards? Mr Drakeford, by the way, is the First Minister of Wales. He represents Labour. Mr Drakeford made the announcement at the Senedd, that's the Welsh Assembly, committee in response to a question from Conservative member of the Senedd, so Conservative member of that Parliament, Russell George, who said it was unfair to force independent clothing and hardware retailers to close while similar goods were on sale in major supermarkets. So the thing that she is calling socialism was only introduced because the Conservatives asked it to be introduced. You fucking idiot. She is in the British government. She is in the extended cabinet. I am paying these fucking dolts' wages. It's not the end of the world, it's just something that annoyed me. Anyway, talking of COVID-19, Jesus Christ. 60,000 deaths, like I said, increasing cases every day, which means we're going to get lots more deaths as we carry on. All good. And we've had recently the brouhaha, if you will, surrounding Manchester. Now, Manchester is a city in the northwest of England, a rather big city. I think it's the third largest in the country. And it's had a rather nasty spike in recent times of COVID-19 cases. The mayor of that city, Andy Burnham, who, by the way, is becoming a national treasure and is a strong candidate for a future Prime Minister, potentially, asked for £64 million. Now, again, remember, 150 to 200 billion for Trident, for nuclear weapons, to just not do anything. He wanted 64 million. The government agreed to only 22 million, which is ridiculously insufficient, and have put them into a Tier 3 lockdown. That happened on Friday. It's now Sunday, obviously. Now, what is a Tier 3 lockdown? Well, no one really knows, neither do the government. The government are a shambles. They've set up this 3-tier system. No one knows what it is. No one knows what it's really going to do. But all we know is it's definitely going to fail. Definitely going to fail. So they put them into this 3-tier lockdown thing. So Mr. Johnson, 22 million. There we go, right? Absolute joke. Absolute fucking joke. Rather than actually pay for poor people to get like health care and stuff, and for the PPE and all the rest of it in Manchester, no, they're just going to half-arse it, give them a tiny fraction of the money they actually need, and then when it fails, blame Manchester rather than blame the national government for failing in their duties. And as if that weren't bad enough, as if shitting on the people of Manchester and ensuring that many of them will die wasn't enough from the national government, do you know how the mayor of Manchester found out about this? Literally, he was giving a press conference outside the council building, and a news alert arrived on some people's phones.
Right.
That's how he learned.
It's going to come into effect on Friday.
That's how he fucking learned. He had to just read it on someone's phone. outside the building. The government didn't even give him a quick FYI. This government shows such contempt for the people. Such fucking contempt for the democratic process. The Tories are scum. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how they can possibly complain that Angela Rayner described them that way. That is what they are. Now, like I say, the only thing we know about the three-tier system is it's definitely going to fail. And the government know it's definitely going to fail. Because they're already putting in place plans for a fourth tier. In case this one doesn't work by the middle of November, they know it's not going to work. It wasn't really meant to work. They just want poor people to go out and die so that rich people can continue getting richer. That's it. They want the red line to just go up and fuck the number of people who die to make that rich people money. That's it. And I literally made a joke the other day. I said there's going to be an arms race. They're going to be, they've entered 3 tiers, the Wales are going to do 5 tiers, Scotland are going to do 20 tiers. The government have already only just announced their 3-tier system, and now they're looking at a 4th tier. I mean, the level of incompetence borders on the genuinely sadistic, frankly. I mean, these people, they're murdering British citizens at this point. This isn't manslaughter. They know what they're doing isn't working. They know people are dying. At this point, it becomes murder. Ask me to be patriotic, I fucking dare you. But, you know, the people of Britain, always, there's always idiots around. And not just idiots. Enormously irresponsible cunt bags as well. We saw yesterday protests on Oxford Street in London. Central London. Look at these irresponsible cunts. No social distancing, no masks. Look at that. Anti-lockdown twats. Look at these fucking idiots. Lots of these people are going to die. Although I do have to say, I don't know if is that showing up on the screen. It's not. I'll show you that. Flu d'etat is a good pun. I have to say, flu d'etat is a good pun. That's a solid piece of pun work. You know I'm a fan of the pun. I can't resist. I mean, it's not real. It just makes sense in this context, but still. Look at these cunts in the fucking... in the V for Vendetta masks. They genuinely... all of these pricks, I bet every single one of them thinks they're the Joker. They're all the Joker. Irresponsible, selfish twats. You're not the 99%, you're the soon-to-be dead. That's what's going to happen to you. Lots of you are going to get COVID and die. That's not a threat from me. I'm just saying that's going to happen. Because you're irresponsible cunts. And the worst of it is, as with something like, I don't know, taking drugs, that's you, that's on you. You're doing that to yourself. These people are going to get COVID. Many of them will die. Some won't. But many of them will die. But all of them will go around the country now, back to their places of abode, and give it to lots of other people who will die. Yeah. Ask me to be patriotic. Then we have this twat. A guy called Lee Hurst. A person that even most people in Britain have forgotten. He was a comedian in the 90s. And as it says, they're unemployed. And indeed, unemployable. And again, these people genuinely think they're the Joker. He went into... Morrison's is a chain of supermarkets. Morrison's security guard. Have you got a mask? Me. Does it look like I have? Continues through and does shopping. I'm starting to lose my patience. You can only remain polite for so long under this nonsense. Oh no, someone asked you if you had a mask. Oh, diddums. Oh, and that made you shit your pants, did it? Oh, what an imposition on your life, Lee. It's not as if we got 60,000 corpses. But at least Ross, again, let's try and get some silver linings out of this. Ross, this person here on the Twitters, snapped back with a couple of delicious little one-liners on him. You're right, Lee. You can only remain polite for so long under this nonsense, which is why I'm calling you a stupid, selfish, flat-earth, antediluvian dick swab. Kudos on dick swab. Who thinks his very mild inconvenience outweighs 60,000 deaths and the near collapse of the NHS. Lee says, but as with all your type, you wouldn't say it to my face because you're a coward hiding from life. Russ responds, I would, Lee. I'm a 6-foot former rugby captain, boxer and cancer survivor, and if you think after that lot I'm going to be scared of telling a dickhead he's a dickhead, you're as wrong as you were when you picked a career in comedy. You had to do him dirty, Ross. Lovely stuff. See, just tiny little... You've got to grasp onto these tiny little crumbs of comfort in this sea of shit. That's a mixed metaphor, doesn't matter. Anyway, talking of shit, I'm now going to be talking to you about the License to Kill bill. Not Kill Bill, the film. The License to Kill Act. The official name for it was the Covert Human Intelligence Sources (open brackets Criminal Conduct close brackets) bill. It was a bill that recently passed through the House of Parliament in Britain. And to say that this is some fucking crazy government overreach is a mild understatement. Now, this bill would essentially allow members of the Secret Service to kill people, to engage in torture, to engage in any number of human rights abuses, but as long as they meet the very, very broad criteria, which are basically meaningless, giving them a free license to do whatever they like and claim immunity. Yeah, they're basically licensing British Secret Service agents to do whatever they like without any oversight. To anyone, for basically any reason. The three criteria are: in the interests of national security, which can be anything; for the purpose of preventing or detecting crimes, or of preventing disorder, which could be anything; 3, in the interest of the economic well-being of the United Kingdom, which again, could be pretty much fucking anything. There are no checks, balances or accountability. Apart from in the word of the document, apart from a vague reference to, quote, trust in the Declaration of Human Rights, unquote, which, given that this government wants to take us out of the European Declaration on Human Rights, is pretty worrying. I'd say that's pretty fucking worrying. Now, in case you don't want to take the word of, an opinion piece in a newspaper, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Amnesty International released a thing. Noted human rights organisation, Amnesty International. UK, MPs vote through deeply dangerous covert human intelligence sources bill. A bill that allows public authorities to authorise crimes such as murder and torture passes the third reading in Parliament. A hugely worrying development, say Amnesty International. Responding to the news that the Covert Human Intelligence Sources Criminal Conduct Bill had passed its third reading in Parliament, 313 to 98, because again, the Blairite piece of shit, Keir Starmer, asked his MPs to abstain on this. To allow the British government to murder its own citizens, and indeed foreign citizens. Yeah. Thanks, Sir Keir. Quote, it's hugely worrying that we're a step closer to seeing this deeply dangerous bill become law. MPs are signing off a licence for government agencies to authorise torture and murder, giving such powers, disturbing powers to bodies including MI5 and the police, MI5 being the Secret Service, and the police could have devastating impacts. We are now urging peers, which is members of the House of Lords, who care about the rule of law, to introduce urgent amendments before the bill processes further through Parliament. End quote. And that was from Kate Allen, the Director of Amnesty International UK. Now, in case you think, oh, it's just lefties whinging. God, the left always whinge. Let's take a look at an article from The Spectator. Not a source I go to very often, but just to give you the Oh no, go away. Just to give you the sense that across the political spectrum, everyone who's interested in this and actually knows the story is pretty disgusted by it. It's not going to stop it from becoming law, though, but whatever. This is The Spectator, very right-wing, about as right-wing as mainstream conservatism gets here in the UK. The terrifying consequences of the Licence to Kill Bill. Again, not to Kill Bill the movie. Okay? The justification for the bill arises from the real dilemma of how the intelligence services handle undercover agents who are forced to break the law in order to carry out their work. So they're not even arguing that they shouldn't be able to be able to break the law. It's just that this goes so far beyond it, it's ridiculous. Here we go, right. And this is a great case study of why allowing British Secret Service to do anything can end up badly. In 1989, the murder of Belfast solicitor Patrick Finucane illustrates the dangers of agents of the state becoming involved in murder, because believing themselves to be acting with at least some degree of official sanction. Finucane's murder was carried out by loyalist paramilitaries, but as Sir Desmond de Silva QC 2012 inquiry concluded, there are a series of positive actions by employees of the state that actively furthered and facilitated his murder, and in the aftermath there was a relentless attempt to defeat the ends of justice. So, Patrick Finucane, who was a citizen of the United Kingdom, was murdered by his own government. And they tried to get away with it. And, for the most part, did. Permitting an employee of the state to facilitate a murder or obstructing justice in the aftermath of a murder is something that a civilised state should only do, if at all, in the most extraordinary of circumstances. Those circumstances certainly do not include the gunning down of a Republican sympathising solicitor. So given that a certain amount of officially sanctioned law-breaking is essential if intelligence agencies do their jobs properly, there is a difficulty over where to draw the line. Where are I? As the guidelines correctly state, such an authorisation has no legal effect, does not confer either... Hang on, where are I? In general, it is probably a good thing that agents have a nagging doubt over the legality of killing and torturing in the interest of the state. So even the right wing, even the far right here, are saying, yeah, it's okay to do a bit of torturing and killing, but there needs to be some semblance of human rights. Under the bill, such nagging doubts will disappear. Agencies will be able to issue a criminal conduct authorisation. That's a licence to kill. It's literally James Bond. But not even in the kind of slightly camp, cool way that James Bond is supposed to be seen. Permitting CHISs to commit any offence up to and including torture and murder with the assurance of legal impunity. To the maxim, be ye ever so mighty, the law is above you, one would have to add the proviso, unless your handler is issued with a criminal conduct authorisation. There are obvious dangers in that. Not all agents are patriotic heroes, although, of course, some are. Some must of necessity be drawn from the membership of terrorist organisations. Such organisations tend to attract fanatics, psychopaths, and the unhinged. Even if they are turned by greed, bribery, or blackmail, psychopaths will remain psychopaths, and the unhinged will remain unhinged, despite being in the pay of Her Majesty's government, or issued with an official licence placing them beyond the reach of criminal law. Yeah. That's the point. Well, one of the points. Hang on. Oh, that's on the wrong fucking thing. Ah! How did that... Oh, no. Bugger. I was reading from the Spectator... Hang on. No. How did it go onto a different... This is the article I've been reading from, by the way. Sorry. See, that's where you kind of need to look at the chart. Anyway, it's from the Spectator, and the things that I read from it are legitimately what it was saying. Anyway. So that's one of the points about written in invisible font. Shut up, everyone. Dickheads. Anyway, so, yeah, that's one of the problems with this bill, right? That they do often have, like, ex-terrorists who will often still have some of that shit inside them, you know, the kind of will to kill people and things, who will be given a licence to be able to do so with legal impunity. Basically legalised murder. Ask me to be patriotic, I fucking dare you. Moving on. Yes. We now have the HS2, as I'm referring to it, money pit. For those who don't know, HS2 is a rather terrible thing. Now, I'm in favour of checking it on the screen. It's all good. I'm in favour of spending. Right, I'm in favour of public spending on public works projects. This, though, is a fucking catastrophe of enormous proportions. HS stands for high speed, and this is the supposedly two-stage plan, so HS2. It was originally supposed to be something like £25 billion. It's now going to be £106 billion, and that's the estimate right now, and they know the costs are going to rise. This is a fucking money sink. And it doesn't even have any real good purpose, except it's a way of funneling public money into the pockets of rich Tory donors. That is it. It is a high-speed rail link that will link up initially London and Birmingham, which is where I'm from, and then later the second stage will be a Y shape where there's a line that goes up to Manchester and then it branches off to go to Leeds and Sheffield in the north of England. Well, actually, there's a map there. That's the point. Look, that's the initial phase. Then it'll go up to Crewe and Liverpool, Manchester, and a bit up to Leeds. Yeah, Sheffield. So that's the plan, right? Number of problems though. The ecological damage that's being done. They're digging up ancient woodlands and stuff. They're fucking up huge parts of the country in order to do this. They've literally changed the route of the thing in order to avoid some of the rich areas though, in places like Oxfordshire. Because the rich people are the only people who matter to Conservatives. Bear that in mind, okay? It's fucking up huge amounts of sort of ancient woodlands. No, we don't have a lot of that left anymore. But they're fucking it up anyway, because it doesn't matter. This is, rich people are getting paid to do it. Or rich people are being given money, and then poor people are having to actually do the work. Rich people don't do work. So there's a number of problems like that. And there's no real financial benefit to it, right? The only financial benefit is the initial building, which will be 22,000 short-term jobs. It'll only be for like a couple of years at most. Which I'm not scoffing at. That's fine. That's what infrastructure work does, you know. But it's being claimed this will revolutionise the way in which it will bring money into the more regional parts of the country away from London. Even though the government's own watchdog have rebuffed that and said that probably won't happen, and actually you might get the reverse situation. So we're paying huge amounts of public money for something that won't really do a lot. It'll cut like 20 minutes off a journey to London. So it's not really high speed in any real sense. Not like, say, in Japan where they've got the bullet train, which is high speed. So we're going to have a slightly quicker, much, much more expensive white elephant eyesore in the middle of the country that's doing irreparable ecological damage. But it is funneling 106 billion at the moment. It'll probably be more like 200 billion. It'll be another trident of public money into private pockets, into rich people's pockets. And it is the huge issue around all of this with the government is that this is the most corrupt government in British history. Every fucking contract they give out always goes to one of their friends. It always costs more than if they'd just done proper tendering. It always allows them to give as little back in terms of value for money to the public purse. This government are so unbelievably corrupt. It's untrue. So to the point where I would generally be in favour of something like this because it's public works projects, it's building infrastructure, it's hugely important. But this is shit. This is inefficient and shit, and will ultimately turn people off the concept of public works and infrastructure projects. Because they'll see this as the fucking failure it's bound to be. Oh. So even when they do something which on the face of it looks like it might be worth something, it still ends up being shit. I despair. I absolutely fucking despair. And then, of course, oh god, the fucking turd that just won't flush, Brexit. Am I ever sick of talking about fucking Brexit? God, it's cancer. It really is. Now, we are already no longer a member of the European Union. We have left. But we're still taking the rules of the European Union until the end of this year, till the 31st of December. On the 1st of January 2021, we will no longer be taking their rules either. Now, that means that we won't have access to the European markets to sell our goods and stuff and to keep the economy going. And they are our biggest trade partner by far. By far. Okay? We sell more goods to the Republic of Ireland alone than we do to Brazil. A nation of hundreds of millions of people and a growing economy. Just saying. So yeah, we are we're fucked if we don't get a deal to access those markets. It doesn't have to be absolutely free trade or anything like that, but we have to have some sort of deal, otherwise our economy is going to be even more fucked than it's currently fucked by the government's fuckery around COVID-19. So, and austerity and homelessness and all of those allied cruelties inflicted on the country by this shithole government elected by shithole people. But what has been inevitable is that Boris Johnson wants no deal. Because that's what the hardliners in his party want. And he's only in power because the hardliners in his party have taken over that party. They are a no-deal Brexit party now. So Boris Johnson, unsurprisingly, last week, was it last week? Well, technically 9 days ago now, whatever, came out and said the UK needs to prepare for no-deal Brexit. Well, I'm glad he's told us that now, with, what, just over 2 months before we literally have no deal and we're fucked. So, the Project Fear, which is a thing I'm going to be, which will be the umbrella under which I'm talking about Brexit here. During the Brexit referendum, 2016, you may remember it. It was the forebearer of so much of the shit of the world. We were told about Project Fear, which was people who wanted to remain in the European Union bringing up legitimate concerns, mostly. Not saying there weren't some fear-mongering shitbaggery going on. I remember David Cameron talking about potential nuclear war. Yeah, well done, Dave. You're a fucking idiot. Anyway, we cost him his job anyway, so... Or should I say, he fucked the country up and then just left, and now he lives on a beach fucking a pig or something. I don't know. Anyway. Project Fear was people who wanted to remain in the European Union bringing up issues with leaving the European Union and the problems that would create. And every time you'd bring up anything at all, like, what about if there's no deal? They'd say, no, that's Project Fear. That's Project Fear. Absolute nonsense. They said, and these people, these Project fearmongerers, the pro-Brexit fucking idiots like Boris Johnson et al. Would say, no, it's fine. It'll be the easiest trade deal in history. We hold all the cards, okay? They need us more than we need them, blah, 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 blah. Now, oh, no deal Brexit will be fine. We don't need a deal. It's silly. It's no deal's fine. It's not fine. Economically, it's going to fuck us to pieces. Not fine at all. So, Project Fear wasn't Project Fear. Project Fear was Project Realism. And now those chickens are coming home to roost. In very, very significant ways. No deal is bad, but it's even worse than initially thought. Because, as you can see here, if it'll load for me. Shut up, Theresa May, you dickhead. No deal Brexit would be twice as damaging for the UK economy as coronavirus in the long term. Twice as dangerous as coronavirus. Now note, No one is now saying that Brexit will be good for the economy. During the referendum, they were saying it would be brilliant for the economy. Brexit would be fantastic for the economy. Yeah, it'd be fine. Project Fear. Those people saying it would damage the economy, that's silly. That's silly. We're gonna have a Brexit dividend. We're gonna have the sunlit uplands of Brexit. It's gonna be super duper. Now they're all saying, yeah, it'll be damaging, but not that damaging. Whereas actually, realistically, anyone involved in economics is saying it's a fucking disaster. A no deal is a disaster. Brexit's damaging. Everyone's conceded that point now. Brexit will be economically damaging, which is one of the lies they sold to us. But now it's even... Rory Cats. 1 second. You're getting on camera, boy. It's happening. Shut up. Where are we? There he is, my baby cats. My baby cat. Look at his fat belly. His fatty belly. Fatty belly. Anyway. Nope, hang on, that one. Rory cats. Oh, I'm sweaty. Sweaty spaghetti. Anyway. Yeah, so Brexit's going to be even more economically damaging than before. So again, it's not Project Fear. It was Project Realism. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. Yay! But it doesn't stop there. Oh, no, 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 no. The idiots are starting to realise. But they don't seem to realise that it was their fault in the first place. Former Brexit Party councillor from South Tyneside. Going on about this. Brexit payback. Fury as the petty EU threatens Britons with hours of airport queuing. Blah, blah, blah. They don't seem to realise, these fucking idiots, that when you end freedom of movement for people coming into Britain, you also end freedom of movement for people going out of Britain. You see? So when we land there, we don't have free movement anymore. You can't just wave the nice maroon-coloured passport and they go, okay, EU citizen, on you go. Now we've got a blue passport, which marks us out as a fucking travel leper that needs to be checked. So yeah, you're going to have hours of queues. You know who told you that? The people you labelled Project Fear. The people you labelled Project Fear were telling you that this would happen. You fucking idiots. So yeah, now we're second-class citizens on our own continent. Thanks. Absolute morons. I swear to God. Ugh. Then we have this nonsense. Again, this was a big thing. People were told during the referendum campaign that because of the increased need to check goods coming into the country, there would be either tailbacks, huge tailbacks in Kent, which is the southeasterly tip of England, the bit closest to France. So that's where that's where Dover is. It's where lots of the trucks and transport and goods and services come in through those ports, right? Mostly Dover. And so Kent, they're going to be huge tailbacks on the motorway, or we're going to have to build huge lorry parks for these lorries to park up whilst they're being checked and all the rest of it, because you've got to know what's coming in, because we're not going to be part of a common market anymore. We were told, no, Project Fear. That's total Project Fear. This is nonsense. It'll be smooth as anything. We'll just click our fingers and all the lorries will be checked. It'll be fine. So, you then get workers turn 27-acre Kent field, so formerly a field which looked nice and was potentially useful for growing things in, into a 2,000 vehicle lorry park. Funnily, people are going to be calling it the Farage Garage, or the Farage Garage, if you want. Yeah. But even worse, it's one of 29 sites around the country. Yes. Including in Solihull, which is where I went to school. Anyway. Yeah, look at that. A lovely site, now just a horrible hulking fucking lorry park in the middle of the bastard thing. Fuck. We were told it was Project Fear. This won't happen, it'll be absolutely fine. No problems there. Except, oh no, it's actually happened now. And not just in Kent, around the country. There are going to be these lorry parks. Fucking everywhere. So, Shut up. There was a petition put up to name the Kent Lorry Park after Nigel Farage, the former leader of UKIP, former leader of the Brexit Party, who caused all of this nonsense to some degree. So, and I advise everyone to go and sign this because it's not an official government one. It's a change.org one. Is it linked below? Did I link it below? I think I did. Where are we? Yes, there it is. The Farage Garage
Change.org one. Is it
petition. Go and sign it, everyone. Go and sign it, even if you're foreign, because fuck it, I don't care. Just fucking sign it, because it'd be good to troll the guy. The undersigned request that the new Brexit lorry park in Kent be named after Nigel Farage. Without his years of selfless grift, dissembling and misapplied zeal on behalf of the more gullible voters of Kent, this project just would not be happening. It is fitting that each lorry driver, every commuter and every local resident has a chance to link this fine example of civic and civil engineering to its true hero. It may be that Mr Farage will be unable to or unwilling to attend the unveiling of this great honour that we do him. But that shouldn't get in the way of seeing his name and huge gurn plastered all over the boundary fence at regular intervals, topped by a coil of razor wire, no doubt festooned with the shreds of black farmer's plastic, known as witches' knickers. That's a strange phrase. For the foreseeable future, everyone should genuinely be able to refer to this diesel-soaked Valhalla as Nigel's Folly. So, by all means, share that shit and go and sign it, because that is trolling done right. But again, we were told it was Project Fear. Turns out, nah, it's actually just Project Realism, man. Project Realism. And now the British countryside will be churned up and turned into an absolute shithole of a place. All because, basically, people wanted to be racist scum. That's it. The be-all and end-all. That's what Brexit was about. Let's not pretend otherwise. I'm sick of pretending otherwise. Thank you for the cheer with 200 bits. Lasierga. Thank you. Yeah. So, thank you for that. Yeah. I don't know what that means. What's 200 bits? That sounds like a lot. Is that like 2 bits in America? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, yes. To try and sum this up, right? Everything we've seen here, with the the no school meals and the COVID fuckery, the piles of corpses at the government's feet, the legalised murder and torture by the agents of the British state, the corruption, just absolutely rampant corruption, the Brexit fuck-ups and all of that. There's so much I didn't even get to. And they're really, this list could go on forever and ever. The British government are still selling arms to Saudi Arabia so that they can engage in the genocide in Yemen. Yeah. We've got the continuance and furtherance of the phenomenally racist immigration policies which continue to happen. We've got the fact that the government, hypocritically having tried to benefit politically from, let's clap for nurses. Yeah, let's clap for nurses. Won't give them a fucking pay rise, though. Won't even protect them with proper PPE. They will spend millions of pounds with companies who don't provide PPE because they're Tory donors. Surprising, I know. Public money being funneled into rich people's hands. Crazy. Whilst frontline workers get fucked by COVID. Boris Johnson's scum. The fact that currently the students of universities and colleges around the country have essentially been forced to go into their accommodation, even though it's dangerous and unnecessary because a lot of the classes are virtual, just so that the universities can collect their rents. Again, the money grubbing. The fucking money grubbing is ludicrous. We've had the unfair hounding of Jeremy Corbyn from any position of political power, just because he actually challenged the status quo. And he's replacing with a Blairite piece of shit who will do no real substantive change whatsoever. Yeah. yeah, doesn't make me feel, doesn't endear me to the nation, let's put it that way. And ultimately, the fact that poverty and homelessness have fucking skyrocketed, have gone through the roof over the last decade of Tory rule. And that's ultimately the crux of my hatred, my growing, burning hatred for the country. Okay? The rich continue to get richer at a farcical rate. The poor are continuing to get poorer. Now, that would be bad enough in itself. But not only do we have a government who don't want to actually stop that, we have a government that are actively seeking to exacerbate that. They are one of the causes of these problems. Because it is they and their friends who benefit from that system. And that's why it's continuing. So, yeah, you asked me to be patriotic about this country? No. Fuck you. I will never be patriotic about this shithole. It's not happening, okay? Done. And scene. That was a depressing one, wasn't it? I hope everyone feels sufficiently depressed. Sufficiently depressed. Because I'm depressed at the state of the country. So, you know. So you should all feel that way too. More of this, Kev. It's great to watch. It might be great to watch. It doesn't feel great to do, necessarily. Although I feel a lot better now having done it, if that makes sense. Yeah. But it hurts, because this is really close to home. Like, I can talk about America with a certain amount of dispassion. Because I don't have to live it. But there we go. How are we all? Does anyone have any questions about all of this in the chat? If not, I'll just fuck off. It's not a problem. Yeah, Australia's got similar issues. But you've also got, like, offshore concentration camps and shit. So, like, arguably worse. Sorry. Or maybe not, I don't know. I'm quite literally too far away to tell. But there's lots of Australians I love, so it's fine. How do we fix it? The problem with me explaining how we fix it is that in order to explain how to fix it, I would have to definitely break terms of service many times. So I can't really even explain that, to be honest. So I can't really give you a lot of advice. All I can say is, in the short term, because charity seems to be the only way that anything can get done in this reasonable way, try and do on whatever small scale we can, things like Marcus Rashford, try and actually make sure poor kids do get fed. Get involved in mutual aid societies. Join a trade union, definitely. Things like that, you know. But in terms of actually solving the core of the problem, terms of service violation, no way. I can't say it. Why can't we just have believed in Brexit? Exactly. Brexit happens well if you just believe it. It's a fucking cult. It really is. What is the meaning of life? There isn't a meaning of life. Life is pointless. Life is pain. Did you see the LBC Farage kicking the head prank call? Oh, that was from ages ago. Yeah. That was funny. I think we played that on the Happy Hour before. If it's breaking terms of service to express the answer through the medium of interpretive dance. Okay. There you go. I've said too much already. Anyway. Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of what, I should probably explain. In the Twitch chat, someone says, you do love the UK quite a bit. I think that's why you hurt so much. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, all of the people, well, not all, but many of the people I love live here. I live here. That's where I'm going to have to continue to live. So I need it to get better. That's why it hurts, yeah. And I know this country can be so much better. Oh my God, it could be so much better. I mean, I've talked before about how America has misplaced the greatest riches in the history of humanity. It's the richest place at the richest time in history, roughly speaking. I mean, you could argue 10 years ago was, maybe before the 2009 crash or whatever. Well, that would be more than 10 years. 12 years. 15 years. But whatever, roughly speaking. And they've pissed that up the wall on imperialism and greed. Absolute fucking greed. And Britain is basically that, but on a smaller scale. That's what that is. We are mini America. We are the shitty 51st state. And that is depressing. But, as I've said before, whilst I still have breath in my body, I will fucking fight it. Do you know the numbers by chance for the number of kids in the UK in food poverty? I don't know, but it's in the millions. I don't know though. I could look that up, I suppose, but I'm depressed enough as it is. Gipisa, apologies, but I'm depressed enough as it is. So I need to. My head isn't even itchy. Why do I keep scratching my head? It's just a thing. It's a nervous tick. Yeah. So, while I have breath in my body, while I have air in my lungs, I will continue to fight this, and will hopefully get through in the end, even if it's not during our lifetimes, and we can build a better world. But understandably, I'm a little bit depressed about that. I'm a little bit skeptical and pessimistic about the whole thing. So, that's a thing. Anyway, I'm going to fuck off now anyway. Hopefully, like I say, join a trade union, sign the petition, it's linked below, just for a bit of trolley fun. Join a trade union, get involved in mutual aid societies, if you can, get involved in like food banks and stuff, because ultimately making sure that people are alive to fight another day is a good thing. So, on Twitch, I'm going to raid you into who is around. Habe, there we go. And to everyone else, though the cowards flinch and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. No, pass around.